Hi, I'm Doc Martin, the lone journalist for the KRAZ-TV and the Zero Channel. Today's book review is at the Zero Channel, an adult's subject. Well, everybody should be concerned about this subject. Wasteland by Oliver Franklin-Wallis. The secret world of waste and the urgent search for a cleaner future. This book is an eye-opener. It has some stories that, well, I think if you read the book, it would help change a lot of ideas and tell you new things that you never do anything about in this global situation. And it's about, well, food waste and composting and nuclear waste and clothing and recycling and reduce and reuse and recycle and greenwashing. But anyway, from Oliver Franklin-Wallis is an award-winning magazine journalist and the current features editor of British GQ. His writings has appeared in GQ, Wired, The Guardian, The New York Times, The Economist, The Times Magazine, The Sunday Times Magazine, Men's Health, and many other publications. In 2017, he was named Print Writer of the Year by the British Society of Magazine Editors. He lives in Hertfordshire, England, with his wife and daughter. Amazing. There's his picture. Anyways, the book is from Hachette Books. I hope I'm not butchering names, but probably I am. What a book. An award-winning investigative journalist takes a deep dive into the global waste crisis, exposing the hidden world that underpins our economy, and finds out the dirty truth behind the simple question: what really happens to what we throw away. In Wasteland, journalist Oliver Franklin-Wallis takes readers on a shocking journey inside the secretive, multi-billion-dollar industry that quietly profits from what we leave behind. In India, we meet the waste pickers on the front line of the plastic crisis. In the UK, we journey down sewers to confront our newest and oldest waste emergency. And in Ghana, we follow the afterlife of our technology and explore the global export network that results in goodwill donations clogging African landfills. From a British nuclear waste facility to an Oklahoma ghost town, Franklin-Wallis travels in search of the people and companies that really handle our garbage, and along the way meets the innovators and campaigners pushing for a cleaner and less wasteful future. With this elegant, thought-provoking, and occasionally terrifying investigation, Oliver Franklin-Wallis tells a new story of humanity based on our waste and shares a blueprint for building a healthy, more sustainable world before we're all buried in trash. Boy, that's the truth. So this guy, this is a picture. He took this picture of a woman on a huge dump outside New Delhi. It's hundreds of feet high. And they have a caste system that nobody wants to deal with the garbage, so they leave it to their untouchables, and these are the poor people. And they scavenge what little bit they get. All the children work. It's just a horrendous story, and they work 50 cents to $2 a day. And, I mean, he actually went to these places. He had to pay people, and he had to have guides, and they had to be snuck in at times, and they'd only let him see certain things. And at times when he did do some of these dumps and stuff, because the investigations had been forthcoming with exposing corruption and things like that in the citizen, the workers at these facilities actually got mad at the investigative journalists because they thought they were telling on them. So it's a win, no win, or who knows what kind of a situation, but it's a horrendous situation, and this is a very true story. But there is some hope, because it just has to be that way. But he does talk about the different places, and he goes talking about cardboard and some of the stuff and plastics. The biggest thing with the plastics is there's a thing called greenwashing. It's the industries that are trying to, when they put things on there like designations for certain plastics, that it's just their way to get around, well, we've done the best we could and now it's up to the consumer and they'll do recycling. But the real truth is very little actually gets truly recycled. The majority gets buried or burned. The clothes that get brought over from different countries. The United States is only one of them. It's a lot of countries that have fashions, and the fashion people, it's called fast fashion, so it's in vogue today, but 6 months from now, here's the new thing. So some of those companies do not want those clothes even actually out, so they go into shredders and they destroy brand new clothing simply because if people wore it and it was used or out there, then they wouldn't buy their new stuff. So that's another vicious circle there. And there again in Ghana, it was a British colony for many years, and they finally got their independence. But they're trying to change laws down there and stop clothes, but people just keep sending them bundles, 500-pound bales of clothes, and they have whole dozens of square miles of just nothing but people working on clothes, and they sort them, all the men's trousers and the men's things, and then there's ones with shoes. And then, of course, he did do an expose where he went back to Ghana again for the leather industry, because the leather uses chromium salts, and so they have to tan the leather, and it leaches out. They do try to have a recovery system. There are systems that do take this out, but it seems to work in some places, but the point is that some people just are clandestine dumpers at night. They just will not conform to the law. It's cheaper, they can get by. They don't want to buy the new equipment that will recycle the chromium, and so when he's walking along, he sees blue and green puddles on the ground that are, the metal salts. And so then he goes to Oklahoma, where the Quapaw Indians have a reservation and lands in that little narrow strip above. It's called the Tri-State Area from Kansas to Missouri to Oklahoma. And many beautiful specimens, but it was mostly zinc and lead. And so they built these huge chats, they call them. They're just mountains, kind of like this mountain, except it's a mountain of waste. And towns, there's so many that the little towns were built in between them. And so they tower over them on a plain. The plains out in Oklahoma are quite flat, and so these chats are 200 and 300 feet high, and they eventually are blowing the dirt and stuff. So the Tar Creek, it was called, was a huge superfund by the EPA to clean this up, and they actually bought how it first started, though, is to get the land, the big developers way back, 20s or turn of the century, when they were doing the lead and zinc mining, they wouldn't just take the land from the Indian, they would lease the land. And if a guy didn't want to lease, they had the BIA go in and take him and bring him down there, arrest him, and tell him he was insane or mentally unfit, and that he wasn't doing the right thing for business. And the BIA would take it over and say, we're doing power of attorney for him, and sign the leases over to the mining company. Now, this happened a long time ago, but that's what happened. I mean, that's how it became that way. And then later, when the towns were built and around there, they leased them to non-Indian and other people. And then when the government said you all have to move, they only paid the homeowners for the new home. And so the Quapaw got, well, messed up again and screwed out of their land because they didn't get a penny for the dirt in the land. Only the homeowners that got relocated and stuff. So the fight just goes on and on. He did go dumpster diving with a guy named Compost John, but he learned how to compost, and he said it assuages his guilt, whether it's recycling encourages more waste, or it's because you always want something different and new. And the biggest food waste is his biggest peeve, because there's a lot of things you can't eat. There's a lot of things, food waste causes a lot of methane and dimethyl sulfides, sulfur products, and the stenches and all of that stuff. And then he goes into the sewers of the Thames and all that, where it's been openly a sewer back in the 1850s. It was so bad it was called the Great Stink. So it's a great, great expose, and Oliver has done such a wonderful job, and it spends to his safety and all. He's like going into the secret cartel stories and stuff like that, and he has to be whisked in and out and not let anybody know. The people that want to tell their stories can't let the police know and stuff. What a story. But it's a true story. And then he goes into the nuclear industries, where he's shown, where they bury the waste, and they have to find places for 100,000 years to bury this stuff because of half-life of plutonium and all of that. So it's just amazing, amazing stories. Get the book. We got this at our public library here in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm sure you can get it. It's called Wasteland: The Secret World of Waste and the Urgent Search for a Cleaner Future. Thanks. I'm Doc Martin for KRAZ TV here at the Zero Channel. Please watch, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.